Smart 24, driving business.
Good evening, viewers. Once again, we are blessed to have this program, The Point. And those who've been following us, we are determined Ugandans who are looking how we can make our country better. This evening, our topic of discussion is about what actions for stability and prosperity of Uganda's agro-based economy, looking at to be free from debt burden and inflation. You're welcome once again, our dear guest, Honorable BANYENZAKYI Henry, and commonly known as Ntunguka. And you're welcome again, once again.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you for inviting me and hosting me to have a conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yes, please. So we will go through this discussion, and the reason why we are interested in this topic, I say it again, what actions for stability and prosperity of Uganda's agro-based economy? We must be free from debt burden and inflation. It's of recent that we're able to discover down there, up the grassroots level, and even here in Kampala, everywhere in the whole country, there's an outcry. The prices of commodities, the skyrocketing of prices is too much. And everyone is asking, what's the cause of this? What can we do? And again, we understand very well that Uganda has been struggling with the debt burden. At a certain point, on the parliamentary floor, where I was either participating in as a technocrat to make policy analysis, there was an outcry that Uganda continued to suffer from the debt burden. And yet, our country is supposed to be referred as a rich country. Why do I say it should be referred as a rich country? Number one, we are blessed and endowed with natural resources, minerals. Of recent, Honorable, you understand, you remember very well, and you were one of the person who was interested in that debate at a certain point concerning how best can we use oil, gas, and all that.
Right.
And we continue to look at the target of the country, the target of the government, the language, the statement of prosperity. We want to prosper. The president of this country, from time to time, has declared this, that this country must prosper. But yet this prosperity seems not to be realistic to where we want it to be. Honorable, you're welcome once again. We can receive your point of view as we go through this discussion.
Thank you very much. And of course, the topic and the issues you are raising are very pertinent to our development as a country. The holistic socio-economic development and sustainability of the development of this country. You are correct, right? Of course, the debt burden is going high, rising high, into billions more than, I think we are coming to $6 billion now. But you know, a debt as a debt is not bad. There's nothing wrong.
To be debtor?
No, there's nothing wrong. America is the biggest debtor in the world.
Sure.
America is more indebted to
the World
China,
Bank, the IMF? Mm-hmm.
To China in trillions.
Mm-hmm.
Having a debt is not bad. Securing a debt is not bad.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you use that debt?
Mm-hmm.
So there's no country that is, even this country we are referring to, Singapore, Malaysia, the Asian tigers,
mm-hmm.
they have debts. They have debts. Bilateral, multinational and bilateral debts. They have debts. Even UK, Germany, they have debts.
But the level differs.
The question is, actually they are very highly indebted.
Mm-hmm.
But how do they use that debt?
Mm-hmm.
The problem is for us here, when we get a debt, we don't implement, we don't use that debt the way it should be. For example, if I can give you we are talking about agriculture. We have been getting debts that feeds into agricultural sector. We have like Northern Uganda Structure Adjustment Fund, the commonly known NUSAF. We have NUSAF 1, NUSAF 2, NUSAF 2, NUSAF 3. We are going to NUSAF 4, Northern Agricultural something, for Northern Uganda. Western Uganda has another kind of loan. So over the country, we have this what we call MATIP, market, these ones which have been building markets. This one which build market in Wandegea, Fort Poto, Kabale.
All those are loans. They're based on loans.
These are loans to build markets for agricultural products, to increase agricultural products. But the problem is, you find that, for example, those kind of loans, they are poorly structured. Poorly structured and abused.
Loans are poorly structured. That's the first challenge.
Poorly structured. They get money, and part of that loan, you find that they are going into capacity building, education, travel, cars. So you find that the loan which should have been used into agriculture is going into buying cars, is going into too many seminars.
Paying salaries.
We're going into two vehicles. It is structured even in such a way that there is part of that loan is kicked back to our people who have borrowed us the money. Okay? So our lenders. So the question is in what we could be doing if we were using the money for what it's supposed to be doing. Part of that money is abused. It is, for lack of kind of words, it is stolen. We have, like, for example, Parliament has been discussing about the airport, the expansion of the airport. It even comes in because if we are going to have the airport and we are talking about these agro products, horticulture, vegetables. What do we have? Do you have stores at Entebbe? Have we built stores? Have we put cooling systems? Are we using them? You know? So the loans which we use for agro, the issue is implementation. First of all, poor structuring of the loans, slow implementation of those loans. We have been having like there's a loan which we have been having from World Bank, which is called what? We have used this, we've been giving inputs.
The social loans.
We've been giving inputs, we give fertilizers, we give seeds. It was specifically targeting coffee, beans, and some other like 4 crops. But the implementation, the success of implementation has been only like 20%.
20%?
20.
I'm taking your information because you're a former minister in the office of the president in charge for economic monitoring.
No, these are factual.
And it's vital information. Yes.
Public information. Anyone can log in and see the implementation status of loans.
20%.
20%. Actually, it was called Agriculture Cluster Development Project. Agriculture cluster, because we got a cluster of crops to be financed. That was coffee, that was beans, I think what was
cocoa.
No, cocoa we haven't got, I don't know of any loan. Giving fertilizer, it was like a subsidy. But implementation 20%. 30%. Which means 70%. Time reaches when that loan expires, when they have not even implemented what they are supposed to be implementing.
I have a question for you.
So if we are going to do agro-processing, for example, UDB, Uganda Development Bank, has been recently, it has acquired some kind of financing, some multinational financing to go into agro-processing. That is all the money the UDB is marketing presently. When it gets these stringent measures of accessing that money. Fine, let it be, because UDB has to pay back. But now, if UDB gets this money at 1% or 1.5, 2% at most, a profit, UDB is going to give a profit of 2%. Why should UDB be charging 18, 16, 12%? 12%.
The interest rate is high. That's high.
Yes, of course, that's high. What if they got that money 2% per annum. Why should it on lend that money at 20%? Now, UDB has gone into the fashion of commercial banks. If the commercial banks are charging 24%, let's charge half of that. Not knowing that even this 24% is prohibitive.
Mm-hmm.
Even this 12% in agriculture sector is very high.
It's very high.
Exactly, it's very high.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are giving to this agricultural loan, it should be long term. If you are giving a loan into coffee, the first harvest of coffee is after 3 years. Supposing you are going to establish a plantation, like what Kaweri has done. You have Kaweri in Mubende. 3 years. So, and then they are telling you, they will recover their money within 5 years. 5. Which means these 3 years, you are not earning anything. Coffee is still growing. You are going to start harvesting in year 1 at a low yield because it has not matured. So by the time you are reaching 5 years to really begin the real harvest, they want all the money, yet there is no income. So there must be through patient capital. Patient capital. If you are going to say we're going to process, if you're going to say into processing of coffee, you need even sometimes, even let's say tea. Let me take an example of tea. A tea which has been a new processing, a new crop that has been produced in Kigezi. You know it very well. This was introduced about 5 years back, but up to now, Kigezi Highland, that company owned by Mr. Garuga, Kigezi Highland something tea company. 3 years, it has already installed the capacity, but 3 years, they do not have enough acreage of tea to feed into the factories. These factories are performing at 40% capacity, at optimum, 40% capacity. Why? Because they don't have the leaf. Why? Because the plantations or the tea planting has not been adequately. There's no mobilization, and people, it's a new crop. So if these Kigezi tea highlands get a loan into agro-processing of tea, reaches and performs at 40% because of lack of tea, of the leaf, it will definitely have problems. So these are the challenging issues. If we say coffee, what is the status of our coffee? If you say cocoa, you want to give to finance a chocolate, let's say value addition into cocoa. Our cocoa production in Bundibujo is under capacity.
Honorable,
Yes.
Honorable, we of recent, with a model which I was able to come across, defining the 5 problems that affects the economy. And we are dealing with the agro-based economy of Uganda. Yes. And it talks about, the first hash, it talks about when you want the economy to be stable, there must be a deliberate target and focus, looking at what to produce, yes, and in what quantities.
And the deliberate investment.
That's number 1. Number 2, according to the model which I would like to bring to the attention of viewers and ourselves as we discuss, how to produce these goods. That's number 2. Number 3, for whom is the goods produced? That is dealing with the market. Then number 4, partly which you had talked about, how efficiently resources are being utilized.
Okay, let's begin one by one.
Then number 5, is the economy growing?
Okay, fine, no problem. Begin. Number 1 is talking about what?
Number 1 is talking.
One by one.
Number 1 is talking about what produce and in what quantities.
Thank you very much. What produce? For example, Uganda, we are targeting coffee as number 1 priority crop. Coffee, tea, cocoa. Even if we take these first 3.
What to produce?
You can put there cotton, you can put vanilla, you can put cereals, whatever it is. But are we taking deliberate effort to invest in these crops so that we have massive production? Have we done deliberate investment in coffee? Because we have like a target of 2020. But how much are we investing in coffee? I think the last time I checked, the budget of coffee was about 55 billion per annum.
55 billion
Yes.
to invest in coffee.
Per annum.
Mhm.
That includes wages, non-wage, and development. You find that there is no development.
Mhm.
So it is about wages.
Mhm.
If we are going to invest in coffee, how many extension workers do we have? Extension agriculture officers.
How many extension workers do we need and do we have?
Do we need and do we have?
Yes.
We are underutilized.
Mhm.
You find, like, for example, in Kigezi,
Mhm.
Kigezi, which is about 5 districts,
Mhm.
having one agriculture, one focal person
Now there are 6
from
districts.
UCDA.
Mhm.
For sure, I know that.
Yes.
The focal person for Kisoro is the same for Cabo, for Rwanda district is the same person for Kabale district, is the same person for Konjiri, for Chiga. You know, it can't work. How many farmers is it going to reach? So if we are talking about these other things, for example, in this coffee developing, coffee district,
For production. Mm.
yeah,
Mm.
we should be having at least a coffee agriculture officer in every sub-county.
A coffee agriculture
So
officer.
that you reach on each and every
General agriculture officer, that's what you mean?
on each and every agriculture officer who is specialized in coffee. You invest in it
Mhm.
because it will pay back.
If it is our target.
Yes,
Mm.
but
Mm.
are we investing there? No.
Mhm.
We have underfinanced UCDA. So if we want to say develop, get enough quantities, target the crop, invest in that crop. And that is why, for example, Vietnam, which came 10 years, which has come 20 years before, there was no coffee in Vietnam. We were the leading coffee producer, but now Vietnam is ahead of us. Why? Because they made deliberate effort and invested in that crop production.
Mhm.
So that we have the quantities. As I speak now, there is scarcity of coffee. The world demand of coffee is higher.
The world
than what
market.
can be
Mm.
produced.
Mm.
And we cannot produce enough.
I have a question
We
for
make
us.
we make
Mm.
deliberate investment, you
Mm.
get?
Mm.
And even research.
Mhm.
If you go to Nakoli, that is called the coffee research center
Mhm.
for coffee. Huh?
Mm.
You can't believe that is a national coffee research center. Have we invested in enough money? If you are talking about tea, the same. How much have we invested there? If you talk about cocoa, there is even minimal investment into research and development of that crop. So the issue is, if we want these quantities to increase, we must make deliberate investments. Okay? And if we are talking about agro-processing, we must also make deliberate efforts to make that this agro-processing is possible.
I have a
That's
question.
number one
Ye-
we have to tackle. Number two,
Yes, the second one is how to produce these goods. Is it the challenge we are facing as a country for our economy not to be stable, especially in a way to support our agro-based economy? Is it because we don't know what to produce, which goods to
takes
produce?
me to number one. We know what to
Because now we have
You
over
ask
30
me
years.
how to produce.
Over 30 years
How
in
to
these
produce,
programs.
You
Mm.
must deliberately invest in good agricultural practices. When I talk, like, for example, cocoa, we are now relying on a small funding which is coming from EC to fund the post-harvest handling of this cocoa, to fund good agricultural practices, to fund and increase the uptake from European Union, not the government of Uganda.
Should we be depending on the European Union,
That is
IMF, and World Bank
That is the issue.
in order to produce? Because what I realized in this case, we had agricultural cooperatives, and these agricultural cooperatives used to engage the indigents, the citizens, to actively participate in mass production. And that's where it could lead us, what you're talking about, the Coffee Marketing Board, the agricultural cooperatives, like one which is surviving, that is known very well, it's the one of Bugisu, the Bugisu coffee.
Struggling.
Yes, they are trying. They are
struggling.
And elsewhere, it is still a struggle. How best can we be able to recover back?
What we are talking about.
Yes, sir.
The government itself must feed the cow it is feeding. If you are not feeding a cow, you don't expect it to have enough production of milk. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So this agriculture, we're expecting too much in agriculture, but we are not investing in it. And that's what I've told you, what I was doing. What do we need to do? We need to do good agricultural practices. And these good agricultural practices must be taught to the people. I was talking about cocoa, but we are relying on European Union, and that's why you're asking me. When you rely on another country, it will give you little as it wants. But if we were doing it ourselves, we would be putting in enough money. It will even give you conditions. For sure, like for cocoa, I know it very well. I know that project, which is a very small cocoa, small component of money. Coffee is the same. Tea is the same. Cereals is the same. You remember how we like cereals? We would be doing very well as a country into grain export. Maize, millet, simsim. We would be exporting a lot.
And we are still importing. When you go to supermarkets, we are even importing.
We are not importing.
Especially in terms of quality.
No, maize, we are not importing, but maize byproducts or finished products of maize like cornflakes, these animal feed.
We are importing.
We export our maize to Kenya. Kenya processes, adds value, sells back cornflakes, sells back animal feed. Even they were selling us maize flour, okay, which is very unfortunate. So we know what to do.
1 minute as we go for the break.
We know what to do.
Yes.
We need the crops to invest in, but we are not doing it right. Even when we borrow the money, we don't use it for the right purposes.
Thank you so much, Honorable BANYENZAKYI. And we'll be coming back to a central point that we want to analyze. Whereas you have the knowledge and the experience, in you I see you more than a member of parliament, a former member of parliament, a former state minister, and by the virtue of the experience you have, you are one of the key leaders in this country who could even entrust for presidency at a certain point, because all this experience and the insights you are showing to Ugandans, I'm looking to a point not for purpose of anything else, when we should shift from only statements and we go into action. Let's meet again as we come in the next few minutes. Thank you so much.